Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Mega Football Friday edition of Before You Bet. You're live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube right now, smash that like button and that subscribe button right down there. So a great big show coming up for you guys here today. We have a beautiful slate in both college football and the NFL. We have best bets for the majority of the best games going on here this weekend. And also 2 Major League Baseball playoff games tonight. 3 total bets on the dime, and that will be towards the end of the program. Okay, so coming off of a decent night on Thursday Night Football, at least my picks went 2-0. I did not finish the game. That we saw that coming, right? I said it was a game that only a bettor could love, and it was absolute trash. Shout out to Hitman, who came on the show on Tuesday, and he said this version of the Saints might be the worst team in the NFL. They absolutely look like that. Major League Baseball dramatics in Cleveland. We'll discuss that with Jingles here when he comes on at the midway point of the show. But I went 0-2 in baseball, so split today, 2-2. A lot of splits here this week, so tried to reverse that here and put together a winning card here for Sunday in the NFL. But first, I should say, if you guys want to participate in the show, very easy to do so. Hit up that live chat on Twitter, or X, I should say, on YouTube. Let us know, what do you like in college football tonight? What do you like this weekend? What do you like in the NFL? What do you like in Major League Baseball? Let us know, and we will read a few off throughout the course of the show. Okay, enough small talk. We got a lot of action to get into. Let's start with college football. Let's go down to our guy in sunny Las Vegas, Brad Powers. Brad, what's up?
I'll tell you what, it's not sunny Las Vegas today. It's cold, windy, and cloudy Las Vegas. It's only like 50-something, and it's like 30-mile-an-hour winds. It's the coldest day in several months, to say the least.
Ooh, nasty weather in Las Vegas. Okay, so we got a lot of games to get into. Brad came on the show on Monday and gave out 2 best bets. And he gets, looks like he'll get a CLV trophy for these ones. He gave out Auburn at +5.5. That's down to +4, and he gave out Kentucky +2.5. That's top the fence. They're a 1.5 favorite now. So now, Brad, all they have to do is just cover, right? And we'll be good to go there. So if you're interested in that analysis, you can go back and watch Monday's show. Just go to the Covers YouTube channel live, and you'll see the Monday show there. Okay, so we got some best bets to give out at the end of this segment, 3 in total. We got a bunch of big games to discuss. But first, I got to ask, there's 4 games on the board here tonight. A few with 3-point spreads. We have Oregon in action on Fox taking on Purdue on the heels of that big win last weekend. A modest 29.5-point favorite for them. ESPN has BYU and Oklahoma State. Anything stand out on the board here tonight in college football?
Well, I will say I get asked about the Oregon-Purdue game on every show I do. I just think everyone, flat spot, short week off the big win. Got to bet Purdue is a big, underdog. And yet the market's going the other way. It was 27.5, 36 hours ago. So I'm staying away from that one. I hear you on the handicap as far as wanting to bet Purdue. The market's telling you that that's not a great bet. I'm going to go off the beaten path like I usually do. Fresno State, Nevada, over. Wish I had a great handicap here. It's just a numbers play for me. Over 49, I made it 52. Weather's going to be a little chilly, but I think we're in store for hopefully some points tonight.
Okay, Brad, another big banger in prime time Saturday night. Georgia, Texas. Texas favored by 5. You have a total of 57. Now, Texas, of course, they've been on this ass-kicking tour all season long. 6-0, each of their wins coming by at least 19 points, 4 wins by at least 30 points. Do you think they could keep rolling here on Saturday night?
I do think they win, but I have some uncertainty because they really haven't played anybody yet. But Brad, they played Oklahoma, they played Michigan, a couple blue bloods. Neither one of those teams are top 20 teams in anybody's power rating. So I have concerns, particularly on the Texas defensive side. Where they really haven't faced a functional passing offense. I mean, Oklahoma and Michigan's weakness, passing offense. Obviously, that's Georgia's strength with Carson Beck. So I lean Georgia. I lean over. So let's combine the two. I like Georgia team total over 26.5.
Ooh,
I think Texas wins, but this Georgia team, I would not be a bit surprised they're throwing Carson Beck 40-plus times, and we get a game script similar to, Alabama, Georgia.
Okay, next up, Alabama, Tennessee. Neither of these teams has looked very good their past couple times out. Tennessee, a 3-point underdog at home, 57-point spread. Who do you think looks better in this one?
Yeah, I can't get to a side right now. I need 3.5 to consider Tennessee. You're right. Neither one has looked good for several games now after big wins a few weeks ago. Just, obviously both got outright upset 2 weeks ago as a big favorite, and both should have lost outright as a big favorite last week. We're fortunate. So let's go under. I don't trust the Tennessee offense, at least current form, the last couple of games. Alabama, put some points on Vanderbilt, but really starting with after the first 20 minutes of the Georgia game, they haven't been consistent offensively. So when in doubt, under 57 in a big game.
Okay, next up, let's discuss a team you were down on coming into the season. I believe you've been down on them a couple times throughout the season, the Michigan Wolverines. They're a 4.5-point favorite now. I think that spread's got bumped up a point or two. They're in Illinois, total 44.5. Illinois covering spreads here, 4-1-1 against the spread. Michigan not covering spreads. They're 1-5 ATS this season. Now, they lost last time out. They haven't lost consecutive games since 2020. What do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, believe it or not, I think Michigan's clearly the right side here. I hope so. I bet them. But it seems like the whole world's betting Michigan here. They're off a bye. They changed up the quarterback. Jack Tuttle is going to be their quarterback. Not that he's a great quarterback, but he is way better in the passing game than what they had for most of the season. So major upgrade for Michigan's offense. So let's take advantage of it. Let's go Michigan team total over 23.5 here. Again, a little bit more balanced offensive tack. I don't buy this Illinois team. Bunch of close wins for them. So I do lean Michigan and over, but similar to the Georgia-Texas handicap, let's combine the two. Best bet here would be, at least for this game, would be a team total Michigan over.
Okay, fun-looking game in the early window here Saturday, Miami-Louisville. Louisville, a 5-point dog. Total on the high end, 60.5 points. These teams are combined 9-2-1 to the over here this season. Louisville beat Miami 38-31 last season. Much tighter games for Miami their last two times out. What do you think of this matchup?
I hear you on the over. I can't get there. My numbers are right there where the current total is, but I'm going to lean Louisville. If you'd have asked me anytime in the last month, you're going to get Louisville +5. What do you think about that? I would have said best bet Louisville, but I don't like what I've seen from them post the Notre Dame game. They lost outright at home to SMU, nearly lost outright to Virginia last week. I don't like what I've seen from Miami the last couple games out, but they are off a bye. Atmosphere is not going to be great. It's 11 a.m. local kick time. I mean, you prefer nighttime, but these are the types of game that Jeff Brom, the Louisville coach, gets up for. He's beaten Ohio State at Purdue. He's beaten, last year Notre Dame he beat with Louisville. So I think you'll get Louisville's A game. I'm not sure that's good enough to win, but let's see if they can get a cover.
Okay, Brad, let's get into a couple best bets here. We have three of them, and let's start with an interesting one. Interested to hear your angle on this one. Michigan State first half +3 taking on Iowa.
Yeah, I'm going to go first half here because it's tough trusting Michigan State for 60 minutes because they don't take care of the football. But what I do trust is their head coach, Jonathan Smith, who's one of my favorite coaches in the country. He's in his first year. If you look at Michigan State's first halves this season, that first 15 to 20 plays that he scripts out, very good. You look at how they moved against Ohio State in one of their most recent games. Up and down the field, what happened? They turned it over 3 times in the red zone. So as long as they play a clean half, I like them outright in the first half against Iowa. I don't know if I certainly lean with them full game here, but I like Sparty off a bye at night in a big-time atmosphere.
Okay, next up, maybe a little bit of a tell with the hat you're wearing here today. You like the Fighting Irish, a 9.5-point favorite taking on Georgia Tech.
Yeah, not completely widely available. It's the two biggest shops, in the States have it at 9.5. We're going to take advantage of quarterback injury here. Haynes King, quarterback for Georgia Tech. I'm hearing he won't play. I'm hearing he will play. If he does play, we're going to assume that he does play. I don't think he's close to 100%. He's a guy who likes to run. His throwing shoulder got banged up. He was not in there at the end of last week's game, which basically was heading to overtime. So I think it's a little bit more serious than they're giving it off. I liked what I saw from Notre Dame last week. I know it was just Stanford, but they pummeled Stanford. They covered by 3 touchdowns. I like what I saw offensively in the throw game. So I think it's a Notre Dame team to keep track of that down the stretch here. I think they give margin. Let's lay the 9.5. Okay,
last but not least, let's go under the radar for an over bet between Charlotte and Navy with the total set of 56.5.
Yeah, Navy game's perfect. 5-0 to the over so far this season by 17 points per game on average. They brought in a new offense coordinator from Mercer. Dynamite play calling. I tweeted up a couple play scripts that they have. I mean, it's just very unique formations, not your typical option. So, I mean, they've been scoring left and right all season against everybody that they face, and this is not a good Charlotte defense. But most importantly, why I like the over here, Charlotte, fundamentally different team than the start of the season. New quarterback. Last time out, they had by far their best offensive performance. They put up 55 on East Carolina with the new quarterback. I think they're not going to put up 55, but I just need them to put up in the 20s here. This one easily goes over.
Okay, something silly, something random for the end of your spot here. Every Friday, we've talked wrestling, we talked TV shows, we've talked movies. Now let's talk food. It's a simple one, and I invite you guys in the live chat to weigh in here as well. What is the best fast food restaurant, and what is the worst?
So best for me, I'm not a fast food guy, even though, I mean, well, how can you say that, Brad? You're fat. I'm just not. I'm more of a carry-out guy. Jersey Mike's to me is the best right now. Well, when it said that 5 years ago, I just discovered them in the last 3 years. I would say best service consistently is Chick-fil-A. Best, I would say, at their A game. If you're going to give me the best of the best, believe it or not, I think Wendy's has the best A performance. Just when they're on, nothing beats Wendy's. It's just the problem is, a lot of times they're not on if you get their food. Worst for me, oh man, it's the most popular ones. I hate McDonald's. I hate Taco Bell. And I really hate Subway. I don't think any fast food joint has fallen off more than Subway. I ate exclusively almost at Subway during college, the $5 footlong years. And now I haven't ate Subway in years. Hate it.
Subway is incredibly depressing. You go in there, you get in that lineup. More often than not, it's an employee. You could tell they don't want to be there. You're there giving them their orders as they make the sandwich. Right? They used to call them sandwich artists, right? Now, it's funny. I was down in Miami, and I was really hungry, needed something to eat. And I do specifically recall I stepped foot inside of a Subway. I took a look around, and I said, nah, I'll figure something else out. And I went and got like a protein bar and a chocolate milk or something like that to fill me up. But I would say the worst is KFC. KFC has gone really downhill. I remember as a kid, it was great to eat. Now it's just maybe it's different based on what KFC you go to, but it's so incredibly greasy. The last time I had it, and I told myself I'm never eating it again, I had a piece of the chicken, and I was wearing like a sweater or hoodie or something. The grease dripped directly down my sleeve, and this is pathetic, and you feel like absolute shit after you eat it. I do think a good shout out on Wendy's though, like the big guys, the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Wendy's, they nail the burgers most of the time, the fries, the simple stuff, they nail it.
Yeah.
Still relatively, you can go in there with a $10 bill and get a decent meal and stuff like that. The dollar Frosties for kids during summer, big hit around here. But
I got a quick story on Wendy's. This is really crazy. So I travel across the country. I was in Cody, Wyoming a couple years ago. There's not a lot of options. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere traveling in Wyoming. If you haven't, I mean, it's wide open as it gets in this country. We go to a Wendy's, me and my dad. There's a line out the door, and it's old people. And I'm old school. If there's old people are going to an establishment, might mean it's good. It was by far the best fast food sandwich I've ever had in my life. I don't know if they got it from one of the local farms. They're the meat, but it was incredible. And again, the line was out the door. Old people eating at a Wendy's.
Yeah, some of them, like some of the specific franchises, they'll knock it out of the park. And some of them, the workers suck, the management sucks. Yeah. They do not give a shit. The boys in the chat saying not big Taco Bell fans either. Yeah, I haven't had Taco Bell in over a decade.
My stomach can handle it in college. No way. I wouldn't even attempt it. It's almost suicide.
It's got to be a last resort type of food, yes. I would think. Okay, I'm probably going to have to go hit some Wendy's here for lunch, Brad, but we'll let you take off. Maybe grab some Chick-fil-A. Best of luck with those bets here this weekend, and we'll catch you again on Monday. We'll try to get some more CLV trophies for the
we'll see. In theory, it looks good on paper, but we'll see. Take care, Joe. See you Monday. Good luck.
Right on. See you, man. There we go. Come for the free bets. Leave with the Wendy's, according to Tom Tremblay. They got good fries. Burger King of like the basic fast. Burger King might have the best burger of like the simple, the cheaper fast food options. I know the Shake Shacks and all that stuff, and In-N-Out Burger, trendy. People like them. A little bit more expensive for fast food, though. Let's bring in a guy who I think has probably some decent fast food experience and some fast food takes.
What the hell does that mean?
Oh, you've crushed plenty of Wendy's in your
Oh,
day, I would
my body
imagine.
is a temple.
That's fair. So let's ask you that question. Then we'll get into the NFL here. And we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. What's the best fast food restaurant? What's the worst?
No, you got to be more specific. You got to go just hammer them out. Burger, chicken, and I'll run them off for you.
That's go for it. Who got the best burger?
Burger, Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen's got a hell of a burger. Sneaky. They got a sneaky plus EV burger over at Dairy Queen. Chicken. Popeyes has fallen off. Popeyes was good. Mary Brown's got great. Oh, they got a great poutine over there. The biscuit, best biscuit in town. Popeyes has the best biscuit.
Who's debating biscuits?
Oh, go get a Popeyes biscuit. It's one of the best things. Brian Zeller says, "How does Arby's stay in business?"
Hey,
if I go to Niagara Falls, have to get Arby's. I've driven off the 401 to like Chatham to stop in and get Arby's. Curly fries are incredible.
Arby's is fantastic. I see JPC fourth in the set says, I like Arby's too. I am an Arby's stan. I will back them. Do not slander Arby's. But he said Five Guys is good. But
sure,
you go in there to buy a meal for your family, you're spending
72 potatoes.
$60, man. So, yeah. McDonald's, people hate on McDonald's.
McDonald's is dumb, bro. Like, take your kids to McDonald's or something. You're like, it's like I'll even order, like, I don't even get myself a combo from McDonald's anymore when I get the kids something. It will be like, okay, I'll just get like a McDouble off the side and a small fry or something. And like the three of us, it still comes to like $45. You're like, that's dumb.
I will say McDonald's has good nuggets. Their fries are good. And their coffee's pretty good too, I would say. The coffee's pretty cheap too. It's half of what a Starbucks is. It isn't as good. Probably better than Tim Hortons up here in Canada.
Dairy Queen has the best chicken fingers by far. The chicken finger basket at Dairy Queen is legit.
See, you were insulted when I said a guy who probably has some fast food experience and some takes, but here
now
you are.
Hammering everything
we
off.
Could go to the top of the hour talking fast food.
Producer Mick saying Dairy Queen chicken strips are elite as well.
Yeah, talked about a guy who has got some fast food experience. Stoner of the month, goes on a fast food grub crawl every weekend, I would imagine. But good dude, though.
Poutine, Mary Brown's poutine. Mary Brown's gravy, by far.
Yeah, right on. All right. Enough fast food talk. Maybe some more later in the show. Let's talk NFL. We got a bunch of bets, and then let's talk some baseball. I'm going to get us started, and it is the return of the 6-point teaser. Haven't done one in a couple of weeks. One spot I love here. It's for the two marquee games probably of the weekend. I'm going to pair the Chiefs up to plus 7.5 and the Steelers up to plus 7.5. It is a marriage made in teaser, having basic teaser strategy, crossing the key numbers of 3 and 7. Kansas City always plays up to the competition, 13-3-1 ATS as an underdog since Patrick Mahomes took over as the starter. This includes 6 straight outright wins. I do think they have the defensive advantage in this one. The 49ers defense has been below average versus below average competition. And then you probably heard it a million times this week. If you consume any NFL content whatsoever, it is Andy Reid after a bye, 21-4 straight up. That is the best in the history of the NFL. Now let's take a look at the Steelers here, up to plus 7.5 on Sunday night. The Jets have made too many moves in a short period of time. They fire Robert Saleh. They demote Nathaniel Hackett. They lose on Monday Night Football to the Bills. They bring in Aaron Rodgers' best friend, who they have to work out how he's going to work in this offense all of a sudden with that new arrangement with the coaching staff. And now they are on a short week, on a tough environment in Pittsburgh versus a team who plays in a lot of ugly, close games. And the Jets have not been good in close games this season. 3 straight losses by 1 score in games that they had their chances at the end of the game. And also a little trend here for you guys. Pittsburgh 17-6-4 ATS as a home underdog under Mike Tomlin. Both of those teams up to plus 7.5. I won't be surprised if each of those teams wins outright. Okay, Jingles, your first prop. Then I have a pick for the total of this game. Chuba Hubbard. Chuba or Chuba?
Let's go Chuba. Let's go Chuba. Let's go Chuba today. He's absolutely game script proof. He doesn't come off the field. Even like last week, they've been blown out, like losses of 18, 26, and 10 over their last 3. He's gone 18-92. 13 for 97, 18 carries for 104 yards, 21 carries for 114 yards over his last 4 games. They're 1-3, and they've been blown out in 3 games, double-digit losses in those 3 losses. He doesn't come off the field, but we might be running out of time to get some value on Hubbard here because Jonathan Brooks is coming back. His practice window's open. He won't be back this week by the looks of it, but Washington's also in a bit of a letdown spot. I think Jason Logan mentioned it. I was saying game versus Baltimore and then Caleb Williams game versus Chicago next week. I know it's an 8.5-point spread, but Carolina could be running the ball consistently like they have to, and they might be a little more competitive. 82% of snaps in a one-sided loss. That is unheard of. You see, it's one of the most terrifying things if you're on like high carry counts and your team gets way ahead and you start giving snaps to the backup back. That just doesn't exist. Miles Sanders had 3 of the 21 RB carries last week. So someone you can set your watch to over 15.5. I was going to get greedy at the 20 at plus 240, but I don't think it was a big enough jump. So I'll take the 15.5, which is a number he's crossed in 3 of his last 4, despite a 1-3 record.
Yeah, I think the Panthers will show some fight, at least on the offensive side of the football in this game. I'm going to go over Commanders-Panthers, over 51.5 points. Absolutely love this bet. So these teams have combined to top this number in 8 of 12 games this season. Carolina has seen totals of 57 or more in 4 of their 6 games. Washington has hit 53 or more in 4 of their 6. Big time fade of each of these defenses here. The defense is ranked 28th and 31st in yards allowed per pass attempt. Now, we know Jaden Daniels can move the ball very well through the air. Well, the Panthers pretty good at running the football lately. And what do you know? That's a big weakness of the Washington defense, too, stopping the run. And don't expect a lot of kicking in this one. Each of these teams absolutely stinks on third down defense and red zone defense. So I think maybe a bit of a shootout there in that one. A lot of points there. Another prop from you, Joe Mixon. What do you like for him?
I don't think we're priced into what Joe Mixon is actually doing on a full carry. So he had 30 carries in week 1. That was with Nico Collins in the lineup. That was insane. Got injured in week 2, off. And then last week, he had 10 of the first 13 RB carries in the first half before they just dominated New England, didn't have to run the ball at all. He got his break. He was injured. He's limited practice this week, but I think it's more of a veteran rest. This is a guy, if you prorate it per carries per snaps, he has 52 carries on 111 offensive snaps so far. That works out to 23.4 carries at 50 snaps, which is kind of what's to be expected. I think he had 53 snaps in week 1. We've seen this offense just kind of isn't the same without Nico Collins, who I thought was the best offensive player in football before going down with the hamstring injury. And they're just going to lean on it again. And guess what? We got an outdoor team, got an indoor team and an outdoor game that's going to be competitive. I know there are dogs in this, but you could actually see Houston coming away with the win, depending on what Jordan Love does with the ball. 20 carries. His total's the same as Hubbard's at 15.5, minus 110. But his over, his milestone or his all over, what do you want to call it, at the 20 is plus 320 compared to Hubbard's, who was like plus 225. So I don't know if they have this price, and his range of outcomes could absolutely be a beast. You got the rest in the second half. He's being babied in practice this week. He's going to have a full go outdoors, and this is an outdoor back coming from Cincinnati too.
Taking a big swing. I like it. Okay, next up, 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL getting after it in Lambeau Field. Green Bay here with CJ Stroud and the Texans intend to take on Jordan Love and the Packers. A lot of people expecting a big-time shootout in this one. I am not. Give me under 47.5 points. We take a look at the trend first. The Texans are 14-6 to the under in their last 20 regular season games. Interesting note, of the 6 games that went over during that stretch, 4 of them were set at 40 and below for the total. Packers have had some standout defensive performances here lately. They've held 4 of their last 5 opponents to 19 points or less. This includes holding the Cardinals to 13 points last week and the Colts to 10 points at Lambeau Field about a month ago. Houston's defense really good against the pass, racking up a lot of sacks. I do think they'll be able to limit Jordan Love in this one. They've been getting a lot of stops on third down. And CJ Stroud, take a look at his home away splits throughout his career. Not as good on the road. His play does fall off, so we'll go under 47.5 for that one. Let's keep going to Prop City. My guy, Jalen Waddle. Let's go.
Remember 2 weeks ago we were talking about Waddle before the bye, right? It was the first was the first or second Huntley game. It was the second Huntley game, I believe.
Yeah.
And it closed at 37.5. And now it's 38.5. We're really not seeing much of an adjustment here, despite Huntley getting more reps within this offense. There's talk out of camp saying that he's looking much better with a little more time in a very complicated offense, and time's certainly going to help. He finished week 5 with that 37.5 total, finished second in targets, third in yards and reception with 46 yards on 8 targets. And this is a spot where it's an indoor game. I love indoor games. We saw it. We see it consistently. Low total indoor games. Give me some overs. And I don't think everything's being priced in considered. I like Huntley for 200 plus yards, but I think the lack of adjustment in this Waddle play really warrants a play at the 38.5, maybe even up to 50 for those greedy people. But in this spot, this Indy defense is allowing 272.5 pass yards per game at home. Now, that might just sound like a dumb number, like you just throw it out there. But honestly, week 1, CJ Stroud went 24 for 32 for 234 yards. Comfortable lead. Didn't have to pass too much. Efficiency was through the roof. And that's what indoor games create. Justin Fields shows up in Indy, throws for 312 yards. So that's something. And then Caleb Williams, who looked awful early, goes to Indy, throws for 363 versus that defense and indoor. So I think there's some unpriced value in all of the Miami props, maybe not touching Hill, but Waddle, and I'll get to another one here too.
Okay, I mentioned this yesterday on the show. The Miami Dolphins helmet will get a prominent spot back on my display if they win outright.
Oh, he wants
versus the Colts. If they win outright, they're back to 500 here, people. And Tua might not be far off from returning.
Optimistic.
I don't know. They sucked me back in. They went away for a week, and I forgot about it. They're probably going to lose 42-3. But if they do win, the helmet, which is right down there, it goes back up on the display. Costa says, Joe, why don't you have takes on teasers anymore? Dude, did you miss the start of the segment? Did you just tune in? You could go back and watch the start of the NFL segment. It is there. No, I haven't been doing as many this season. I think I lost the first 2 of them. Then
teasers were ugly early in the season, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got burned, but yeah, we're back with teasers here, probably, especially if this one hits. We'll go back to the well. Okay. My favorite prop of the weekend, Kyle Pitts, going to go over on his receiving yard total of 39.5 yards. Is this guy finally reaching his potential? He's been a lot more involved here lately. 158 total receiving yards in his last 2 games. He has topped this number of 39.5 in 3 of his last 4 games. Good matchup for him because Seattle is struggling against tight ends. They've allowed the 3rd most receiving yards to the tight end position, an average of 57.3 receiving yards per game per tight ends. The Falcons don't really have a secondary tight end who gets a lot of balls in their lineup. And the Seahawks have been awful against the pass in general. They're allowing a league worst 9.5 yards per attempt over their last 3 games. So we could see Pitts and Cousins connect on a few, hopefully a couple of deep balls over 39.5. Okay, Jingles, bring us home here. You have 2 final props here for the NFL. Let's rip through these and get to Major League Baseball.
Where are we starting here? Let's go. Chase Brown, anytime TD, plus 150, like this price, probably buy to plus 125, plus 120. That's kind of where the draw point line is. Zach Moss, we finally saw him take charge of this backfield. Zach Moss had that big lost fumble last week, primetime. He got benched. Brown also fumbled, but that ball went out of bounds, and then he scored the cover the spread touchdown, we'll call it. So it was quite a lucky spread, considering that was probably the most boring football game that I've ever watched in prime time last Sunday night. 4 red zone carries over his last 2 weeks. It's the most predictive thing. He scored 2 of them. Moss, last 3, he's had 4 carries as well. He's been shut out in all of them. So we're starting to see Zach Moss be the early in the 20 running back. And now we're just starting to see Chase Brown, who obviously is the more talented back, get more early down work. It was the first week last week that he outsnapped him, but he's outproduced Zach Moss in 3 straight weeks. And then what do we know about Cleveland? Are they done? They had a players only meeting. Are they going to rebound? Well, guess what? I don't care. You're probably not going to rebound. You lost your center again, and you have a quarterback who's going to be sacked the most times if he continues to start in the history of the NFL. That's not going to lead well. There could be some turnovers like we saw last week. Could be some short fields for Cincinnati, who still has one of the best offenses in all football. So mark me for a plus 150 TD when Moss is plus 110. I think it should be flipped.
Okay. Last but not least, Jonnu Smith. Let's go.
Your guy, bud. Your guy. And this is just a spot where there's always value looking in the buy after it, especially with a crappy QB in Huntley. So indoor game, 2.5. We saw this kind of, where were we yesterday? In Foster Moreau. This is kind of the same price we were looking at in Foster Moreau. The projection's like 2.9, better than a 50% win rate at plus money. 5 of 8 targets in week 5. He had volume. He's got a quarterback who doesn't really have a great arm, doesn't really look downfield. There could be a lot more short passes. He's more up to date within this offense. And Jonnu Smith had a slight increase in route share last week, 56%. Sorry, 2 weeks ago, 56%, up 7 points. So starting to get a little more confident in his route share. 3 catches, plus money. Sounds like an easy one.
Okay, let's talk a little bit of Major League Baseball. Ooh. One of the best playoff games you're ever going to see took place
yesterday.
Was
nuts. Like everything kept changing. Trying to put my kids to bed, Joe, and it's like, what are you looking at your phone for? I'm like, the Yankees just went ahead. It's tied. No, Stanton just hit a go ahead. It was an absolute insane day of baseball.
So yeah, to recap that for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it. So starting in the top of the 8th, there were 4 total home runs in that game. Judge ties it. Then Stanton goes back to back with them to put the Yankees ahead. Looks like the Yankees are going to go up 3-0 in the series. The Guardians are down to their final out.
Emmanuel Clase comes in too, right?
Yeah, and then Noel ties it up with a 2-run shot. Then Fry finishes it in the 10th inning there for the Guardians. And I got to say, if you were in attendance for that game in Cleveland, good for you. That's something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Just
you're not working Friday.
Two big moments. The one to tie it then in extras, home run. So that's Major League Baseball at its absolute best. Love that one. Elsewhere, speaking of home runs, Ohtani went yard here for the Dodgers. So he's gone yard in back-to-back games. So he's coming into form there for them as they look to put this series away here. The Money Mets might be at the end of their rope. Okay, so let's get into our best bets here for the baseball tonight. Let's start with this Dodgers-Mets game, and I will get us started. David Peterson, I'm going to go under 11.5 outs. A lot of people would see that number and say, hey, I'm going to slam the over. I am not one of those people. Here is why. He hasn't thrown more than 50 pitches or 3 innings yet this month. I think the fact that he's finally getting his first start in the playoffs now tells you everything about what the Mets actually think of this guy. And here's the thing. Senga is expected to have a role in this game. He was considered to actually get the start in this game, but they did say he will be used in this game. So what I'm thinking here, maybe a little bit of a piggyback situation, piggyback strategy for the Mets. Maybe Peterson goes one time through the batting order, gets 9 outs, and then they yank him regardless of what happened. And here's the thing. The Dodgers, they could smack him around in the first 1, 2, or 3 innings here because they have had his number. A 992 combined OPS against him in 67 at-bats. We saw game 1 when he got the ball. They got 3 runs across in 2.1 innings of work from him. He did allow 5 base runners. And the Mets only used 3 guys out of their bullpen yesterday. So it is very much an all-hands-on-deck type of situation. I doubt the strategy is let's ride David Peterson deep into this game. So, yeah, it's a low number. I'm not scared of it. I will take the under on that. Let's go to the other dugout. One of my favorite pitchers, Jack Flaherty. You're backing him tonight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they let Peterson go the second time through the order, right? So Ohtani, lefty, Freeman, lefty. They moved they moved Mac Muncy down yesterday. He was hitting cleanup, and they moved him down. So it'll be interesting to see when they bring in the right-hander, and that would be Senga. So I wouldn't be surprised if Peterson saw 10 batters, maybe 13 batters. That's a long way from 11.5 outs. While you were doing that, I just put that bet in my account. So thank you very much.
Let's go. Let's go.
Jack Flaherty, he's a tough one here. I love him too. And I'm trying to find the value on his under. I mean, his game 1 line was incredible. 7-inning pitch, 2 hits, 0 runs, 6 strikeouts. Not a lot of guys doing that line. You see his strikeout props high. They're expecting him to go deep. That's fine, but there's also paths where he doesn't go deep. Let's put his hits together and his earned runs together. And Joe was talking about it during the Quintana start, that the 2.5 earned run isn't a number you have seen often in the playoffs right now. So he's minus 160 for under 2.5 earned runs. I think the projection from the bat is 1.9. 4.5 hits is a little more manageable. If you want to lay the juice at minus 145, go ahead. The projections, I think, just under 4 hits, or sorry, 4 right on the dot, basically, on a pretty heavy pitch count of 83 pitches. So could be scaled back within that. But even expecting a high pitch count and a ceiling of what he is, all of these project well to the under. So that's how I'm trying to get some plus money out of him. And let's be honest, the Mets' offense in their 3 losses, 0 for 17 with runners in scoring position. That's an ugly line. Even in their, the game 2 loss or game 3 loss, I think they were 0 for 12. So it hasn't been a great offense, and it's still in New York. The hitting weather's not great. I like the spot here a lot for pitching.
Yeah, they might be running out of steam. Okay, so Yankees, Guardians going at it. Yankees looking to bounce back here. Guardians looking to tie things up. No opinion on the side. I do have an opinion on the total. I'm going to go over 7.5 runs. This is a very sketchy starting pitching matchup.
Interesting.
Luis Gil and Gavin Williams. Neither of these guys has pitched yet this month. Gil was awful to close out the regular season. 10 earned runs across his last 2 starts versus Pittsburgh and Oakland. It's been almost a month since Gavin Williams has appeared in a Major League Baseball game. And of note, he had a 6.55 ERA at home this season. So both of these teams went very deep into their bullpens yesterday. They combined to use 13 relievers yesterday. So this is not an ideal pitching situation for either team. And the Yankees offense, they've been hot all series here. 16 runs in the 3 games so far. So I think they're going to get to at least 8 here in that one. Like that bet very much. Now, Jingles, we talked about it going into the playoffs. We talked about it throughout the playoffs. That dream World Series matchup that I wanted. I kind of wanted like a big feel to it. I didn't have any like big time futures bets or anything. Dodgers, Yankees.
Mets, Guardians, right?
Mets, Guardians.
Yeah.
By the time we're here on Monday, we're probably going to be talking about what the odds are for Dodgers, Yankees. It looks like it's shaping up to see that one. So, if you could write a script for Major League Baseball, it would have been these 2 teams meeting in the World Series. So is that something, I think that's
I think you can sell it, right? Like even to my wife, Taiwanese wife, who doesn't love baseball. She's like, how's Ohtani doing? She knows who judges. Maybe that's the extent of it. The kids constantly ask before school. They're like, because I sent them to bed 3-1, Cleveland winning 3-1. They're like, did Cleveland win last night? I'm like, yeah, but some things happened, so you can watch the highlights later.
Well, it's something baseball has struggled to attract the casual fan. NBA, they do it easily. Everyone watches the Super Bowl regardless of who plays, but you get these like the Diamondbacks and Rangers yesterday. You have these playoff games where it's who's pitching. Well, this team's going with a bullpen game. Actually, what's
Landon
a bullpen
Knack.
game? Yeah, so this would have a real big time feel to it. So I'm kind of hoping that we do see that. Now, as a Blue Jays fan, I don't necessarily like the Yankees. So in this scenario, I would probably cheer for the Dodgers. I like Ohtani. Seems like a good dude. I'd like to see him get a World Series. I like to see big players do things on the big stage. Would you lean towards the Dodgers as well from a fandom perspective?
I can't lean towards it from a fan perspective because I have Ohtani World Series MVP shares at 13-1.
Let's go.
$100 for $1,300. I'll take it. So I'll be cheering for that. And if he does anything, they're going to give it to him, right? Like if everybody's let's say everybody's even, they win the series and it's like him and Mookie and Freeman and Muncy, all kind of the same production. It's going to Ohtani for sure. It's the guy who has the billboard behind him when he's at bat, which is funny. The Beats by Dre ad, you see it in the background. it's his. So I'll be really interested to see what, speaking of closing line value trophies, what I get when they win, when they beat the Mets, when they get to the World Series, what the Ohtani World Series price would be. I'm guessing it will be plus 225.
Could you imagine the most dramatic situation in the history of Major League Baseball? Ohtani, Game 7 versus the Yankees, tight game. Late in the game, he hits a big go-ahead home run. And then out of nowhere, the Dodgers are out of pitchers. We see Ohtani warming up in the bullpen. He threw a bullpen session, I think, towards the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
People say he was throwing.
I looked into it.
What he did for Japan in the World Baseball Classic. He came out and he struck out Mike Trout, I believe, to win that. Could you
literally
imagine?
My most favorite watching baseball experience was that at bat, by far. I had money. I had money on Japan too, which also helped. But I bet that Ohtani World Series 13-1, just because if he comes out of the pen, it's his, and they win. If he does any pitching, he's going to win. Now I bet that, thinking that. And then I did the research after, like a dummy, and Dave Roberts is like, no, like he's thrown bullpen, but I think he's only thrown flat ground. I don't know if he's thrown from a mound yet, which is obviously he hasn't gone through the steps of his full rehab. So don't expect.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking on my part, but yeah, they probably don't want to fuck with the guy in year one of the $6 million contract. So yeah, I can't blame them too much for that. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up the show here. It was a great week. We got a lot of bets here this weekend. My 4 favorite bets in the NFL. I got a 6-point teaser between the Chiefs and the Steelers. Commanders, Panthers, over 51.5. Texans, Packers, under 47.5. Kyle Pitts, over 39.5 receiving yards. Jingles?
Yeah, no, it was a good show yesterday, too. We cashed a lot of money on, you went 2-0. I had some Bub hit, had the Foster Moreau over 1.5 for plus money. And Estime, that was a good price. That thing closed at like plus 325. It's a closing line value trophy for that one. So let's carry that over into week 7 here, or at least tonight. Peterson under 11.5 outs. That's not mine. That's yours. You can have that one. But Joe Mixon, 20 carries is mine. Plus 320, getting greedy as I like to do. Hubbard, over 15.5 carries, minus 125, even in negative game script. That guy's getting a ton of carries. Chase Brown, anytime TD. I think he's the better back, and he's starting to outsnap Zach Moss. Give me the better price of the better back. Jonnu Smith, over 2.5 receptions, plus 140. I think there's lots of value coming out of the bye for Miami in that passing game that nobody really liked, but Tyler Huntley, 200 yards. Jalen Waddle, over 38.5 yards. And then Jonnu Smith there, over 2.5 receptions for plus money.
All right. Hopefully when you guys tune in on Monday, I'm going to have a Dolphins helmet right there behind me. We shall see. I'll probably be disgusted watching them play, as I have been for like their last 3 games or last 4.5 games probably. So, yeah, we shall see. Okay, let's wrap up the show. Thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. Thank you to both of my guests. Thank you to producer Mick for producing. Thank you to BetMGM for sponsoring the show. Guys, thank you for tuning in. It was a great week of shows. Best of luck with all your bets tonight and this weekend. We will catch you guys again on Monday.